Jesse Raeburn. Thanks for being here, brother.
Mate, it's good to see you, Ollie.
I wanted to do this interview because you were actually the first person I interviewed 5 years ago when I started my business.
Yeah, I remember that through a mutual friend of ours who was a conveyancer.
Yeah.
Said, a friend of mine's doing some podcasts in the early days, and I think it was out the front of Dundas and Fawcett in Albert Park.
Literally bailed you up in the middle of the road, pulled out a camera and like, let's go.
Yeah, camera, microphone plugged into the phone, and that was our first little conversation.
I've been trying to beat you at golf ever since.
Yeah, I think we've played quite a few rounds together. I'm not sure if you've beat me.
No.
Yeah, I think it was the first time was on Mel's birthday.
That's right.
We played at like 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd arranged a round of golf with my mates and then realised it was Mel's birthday the same day. So I said, do you want to play golf on your birthday? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, perfect. We're playing.
All the lads are coming.
Yeah.
Since then, we're obviously sitting in your house right now that you've sold. So I guess I want to talk today about, obviously you're on the block. You're a tradie before that. How much, I think what a lot of people want to know is how much did you actually learn on the block that helped you build this house?
It was literally like doing the block was like doing an apprenticeship in building. So my previous background, I was a floor and wall tiler. I did some renovations, but mainly new builds or commercial properties like shopping centres and hospitals. And so being able to do the block was life-changing because I love to learn. Like I'm obsessed with learning. I watch so many YouTube tutorials. So when I did the block, I watched a YouTube tutorial on how to lay chevron flooring, and I laid my own chevron flooring. I watched a tutorial about how to hang a door.
While you're actually on the show, you're watching it during the build?
Yeah, legit. So when I was on the show, like I knew I had to do flooring, and I was ringing up floor layers to try to get them to come and lay the chevron flooring. And everyone's like, yeah, I'd love to be on the block. I'm like, awesome, you can only work at night. Like, what do you mean I can only work at night? I'm like, well, during the day, like we need to build it, and then the only time you can lay flooring is typically at night. It's so hard during the day because it's like hallways and living rooms. So I couldn't find anyone that would do it in the time frame that we needed. So I jumped on YouTube, watched a tutorial, and I was like, man, this is just like laying tiles. Flick a line, get it straight. So then that is how I ended up doing all my own chevron flooring on the block, was because I was forced to do it.
How many people who actually are on the block use YouTube to learn how to do it?
If they're not using YouTube, they should be. Because everything you need to learn in the world, anything, is on YouTube.
Yeah, wow.
And so, yeah, like I did that. Even on my renovation here, I had to build a retaining wall. I've never built a retaining wall before. So obviously the engineer gives you the plan. So I just jumped on YouTube, watched how it was actually done in real time. And I thought, that's easy. It's like building a fence. So I learned so much, and people are like, you need to go to university to get a degree or whatever. But man, I learned, how to lay chevron flooring by watching YouTube, how to build a retaining wall or a fence, because they're just things I haven't done. And most people have some skill to be able to do these things, but they don't know how to. I learned how to play the guitar, watching YouTube videos. It's honestly like the best place to go to learn how to do anything.
I remember that guitar thing. That was during COVID. What happened to the songs, mate?
Oh man, that was crazy. Well, as you know, like we had a lot of spare time in a 2-year lockdown where we could only leave our house for 1 hour a day. And so, yeah, I couldn't sell houses. And so I started playing guitar, and my goal was to learn one new song every day until lockdown ended. And the first lockdown was supposed to be 6 weeks. So in 6 weeks, I learned 42 songs, recorded them, put them out on the internet. Some I took down because, I was probably indulging a little bit too much at the time, a few too many beers when there wasn't much else to do. I thought, no, that's got to go. It's got to go. But I still have them on my file, and I'll watch them from time to time.
I guess a lot of people think reality TV is a bit of bullshit. Like, people don't know when they watch it. They're like, oh, that can't be real.
Yeah.
But the block apparently is meant to be pretty legit, yeah? Like my partner was on a reality TV show, MKR, and she reckons like what the producers do, they try and like fuck with you, basically to make the show more dramatic.
Yeah.
Like how does that work on the block with your building and all that kind of stuff?
Oh man, like
safety.
I say to the people like who have that perception of the block is so full on, because you have to think any building site is stressful, and most of the buildings a house takes 12 months. So you're building what is essentially a 12-month project in 4 months, and so drama just happens because the delivery doesn't rock up on time. They drop off the wrong delivery. Just the stress that comes with renovating in general, because you have to make a million decisions and you have to make them on the fly. Never have a chance on the block to actually sit down and really think about the decision. You just have to make a decision on the spot. And so drama just naturally occurs on the show. producers have a part in that, you know, sometimes they can ask you a question, you know, sort of like a bit of a psyop. They might ask you a question and get you thinking about something, but really they don't need to do much to create drama on the show. The whole show is just full of drama because it's a building site and you're dealing with people's emotions. There's no sleep. You're not eating. Like I lost 10 kilos. I just wasn't eating. And so Mel could see that I was losing weight and she's like, kept yelling at me to go, you have to eat, you have to eat. And I was like, mate, just help me. I was like, you get the food ready and then I'll eat. And Mel's like, all right, done. And so we started working as a team. It was quite funny that Mel would just go, because we had light and easy on the show, Mel would just go and microwave a meal, bring it to me wherever I was standing there. She's like, eat. I'm like, all right. And I'll just be standing there, like looking around the room. Yep, do that, do this, and just eating. So that happened for like 14 weeks. She had to feed me.
So it was a test of when she had a kid.
Yeah, it was a very good test for when we had a kid. But yeah, like the block, back to your original question, taught me so much about building. Like I'd never done carpentry before. I'd never done plastering before. I'd, you know, never done flooring before. Didn't do much electrical. So my mate Justin was the electrician on the show, which was really cool. And a lot of the electrical work gets done at night because you're roughing in. The carpenters build during the day and then electricians at night rough in. So I would get to work to them, like, you know, pulling cables through, which was quite fun. I got to hang sheets with the plasterers. I got to do a lot of the carpentry because I had time to do it. And so, yeah, everything I learned on the block gave me the confidence that I could build my own house. And that's what we did. Like, we just finished building. As you said, we just sold, which was really exciting. And now the goal is to, you know, keep building other homes.
Had you done a renovation or a development before the show? Apart from obviously being a tiler, working in other people's buildings.
I did a renovation of an apartment in St Kilda that I owned on Grey Street, actually, where I did the block, which was quite a funny story. So I just finished renovating that show before I went onto the block. And then I did the block and learnt heaps about renovating then. And then again, when we were in lockdown for COVID, I couldn't sell houses, which was so frustrating, but I did still have my sole trader ABN and I'm technically still a tradesman. The whole real estate industry shut down, but the construction industry was still fully open.
Yeah.
And a good mate of mine had just purchased an apartment in Ripon Lee and it was empty, so you're allowed to work on it. And so for, you know, the last lockdown, I went to his house every day for 6 weeks and we renovated the entire apartment in 6 weeks.
Wow.
Start to finish, yeah. So that was my third renovation and then obviously this one being the fourth.
So this one's obviously pretty big. This isn't really a renovation, this is a development.
Yeah, this is like a full extension. We knocked off the back, pretty much started from scratch. It was empty for like 10 years before we purchased it because so many people had bought it, started a renovation too hard. And so it was really cool because we actually were able to come and bring it back to life. Like it was built in the 1800s. I think it was like 1890. So it's 130 years old. It's on bluestone foundations. It's so cool.
Wow.
So we knew like every neighbor in the street because everyone was like, oh, hey, Jesse, hey, Mel. So excited you guys are moving in because we're actually going to improve on the streetscape. Instead of having this property sit there empty, unrenovated, we actually built it.
So who designed it all? Because it's pretty, did you guys do it or you architects?
Well, we were very fortunate. When we bought the property, it had a planning permit in place. And so all the externals had already been done. Like they'd already had the gable roof, which is what you would do on a south-facing block anyway, do the gable roof because volume creates space. And then essentially all the internals we just redid ourselves. So we changed the entire floor plan internally, just like positions of wardrobes, bathrooms, the whole kitchen bar area. This like wasn't designed this way. And then, yeah, I guess most relationships, typically like the partner, like your girlfriend or your wife would do the interiors, but that's not really Mel's interest. She doesn't really enjoy that. Yeah. Mel likes project managing, invoicing, contract administration. She likes all the nitty gritty, all the pretty stuff she just leaves to me. So it's amazing to have a partner like that when you are building or renovating.
100%.
Because I'm like, look, this is what I think we should do. And obviously we go to all the shops together and we choose all the materials and products that we want to use and we agree on it. But I had a very clear vision of what I wanted it to look like and Mel was on board with it. And so we didn't have any arguments about, there was one argument with the fireplace. I wanted to have a log fireplace and Mel wanted a gas one. She won that argument. I'm glad she did because it's so nice just to be able to push a button and turn it on. And then I think that's the only one.
Every renovation I've done with a partner, it's been they go to spend all the money and then I dial it back and go, nah, you're blowing out.
You're blowing out. Dial
it back.
My relationship's the opposite. Mel is just constantly trying to get me to pull it back, pull it back. Do we need this much stone? Do we need a custom bench seat? Do we need the bar? You know, do we need the gas fireplace? Do we need solar on the roof? And I'm like, yes, we do. Because I want to, you know, I'm proud. I'm a proud person like, you know, you are. And so if I'm going to put my name on something, I want to make sure it's done right and something that I can be proud of. And so whilst it's only a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom home, like I'm super proud of what we've done. There is nothing I would change with it. We just did everything the best we could.
I guess for me, right, for my business, obviously I do a lot of renovation for clients, and so many, I think in the first 2 years of my business, people would watch the block and then go try to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And now that's kind of died right in the arse because I think people realize how hard it is.
People realize how hard it is.
Yeah. Do you think because of your trade background, that's made a big advantage compared to anyone else who's like gone to renovate? Or do you think anyone can just give it a crack?
Oh, I think that having a trade background on the show, I don't find to be an advantage because you have to do so much more work.
Yeah, right.
And Keith and Dan expect you to do so much more work. And it's like, man, I'm being a contestant, I'm doing challenges, I'm having to style the rooms, I'm having to choose all the fixtures and fittings, and then you're also asking me to renovate it as well, because I can. So I just got smashed on the show. So on the show, I don't think it's a huge advantage. If anything, it's kind of good if you don't, because they kind of leave you alone.
So they just let trades do it, and they want you doing the action, so they're on.
Yeah, correct. Like the 2 girls on the block at the moment, like they don't have any trade experience. All they're expected to do is paint. But when I was on the block, because I was doing all this work, because I wanted to and I wanted to learn was the main thing. So then they're like, well, why aren't you tiling your bathroom? I'm like, well, I've been away for 2 days doing a challenge. And they're like, there's no excuse, you can do it. I'm like, all right then. So on the block, I tiled 2 bathrooms. It was just ridiculous. But outside of that, in my personal life with renovating, having a trade background is super helpful. Well, it helps with one, like, you know a rough idea about how much something should cost. 2, you should know, you have a rough idea about how long it should take. And so if you get a quote, you know if it's reasonable or if they're taking the piss. And if someone says, oh, it's going to take 4 weeks, you're like, that should only take a week. Why is it 4? So you can sort of work it out. And then it also helps because when you are talking to tradesmen, you understand what they're talking about. So they can't pull one over you, but it also makes it easier to communicate with them. They don't have to dumb it down to explain to you what it is they're doing or how long it's going to take. You actually understand. I was a tradesman in Queensland, not in Melbourne, right? So I don't have any trade contacts down here when I moved. They're all in Queensland. But now, just through, being here for 8 years, all of my friends are like, all of my mates are in construction and they have their own businesses, whether it be electrical, plumbing, concreting, plastering, roofing. There's no one I don't know who doesn't have their own business. And so we work with all of them on this project. And it just makes it easier because you know them, you know if they give you a price, it's going to be a fair price. And they also know, I guess, the quality of work that we're looking for. Everyone's going to build to a higher standard. So I think, having a trade background going into building is definitely a lot easier.
I did a reno for a client the other day, actually. And I got the property managers to get a couple of quotes just to paint. I said, you just go get a couple and then I'll grab one. Her quotes were 35,000, 27,000, my quote 8,000.
Yeah, it's insane.
So they're just taking the piss.
Yeah, taking the piss.
Manager. And she sent the client the invoice for 27,000 and he called me and he's like, what the hell is this? And she's like, oh, it was cheap compared to the other one.
Compared to the other one.
It's scary. That is
scary.
Must happen a lot, yeah?
Yeah, it does. And I think people just don't know. Like even here, I got a quote for the windows and the glazing in the house and it was $40,000. I'm thinking, well, 2 of the windows at the front are period, so they're not getting replaced. So there's 2 sliding doors and 2 windows and it's $40,000. Ended up ringing around and turns out I knew a bloke who had his own glazing and aluminium business. And he come in at, I think it was $17,000. And I said to him, I was like, mate, are you doing me a favor here? Like, is this half price? He goes, no, this is a fair price. So from $40,000 to $17,000 by just calling a few different people. You don't want to be, wasting people's time being renovating, getting 10 quotes, but you should definitely get 2 or 3 quotes for every trade. And that's a tradesman's job, they run a business. It's to go on site, provide quotes. And often you might find a quote that's maybe slightly cheaper, but it's very basic. And you might find a quote that's very detailed, that's more expensive. Chances are the quote that is slightly more expensive covers everything that you need, which is why they've itemized it all. And then the one that's slightly cheaper is going to end up costing the same, if not more anyway, because they haven't allocated all the things that the previous person did.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, but I find it because we renovate clients' homes as well for sale. And the difference in price between like painting, carpet, flooring, styling even, like we can get a 4-bedroom house styled for $6,000, and then some companies are charging $20,000. And, some properties do justify spending $20,000 on styling a home, or $30,000 or $50,000, right? But it's very...
Know the market.
You need to know the market,
yeah.
You don't need to spend $20,000 staging a $1 million property. You can get away with $6,000.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's like with your client. Like I'm sure some houses, they should cost $30,000 to paint.
The house costs $390,000.
Yeah.
The 10% for painting is a little bit excessive.
At that price point, like for $30,000, you should be able to do like a kitchen, bathroom, like a full makeover, right?
Yeah,
10% of the value.
A full reno.
Yeah, a full reno.
What's next then? What's the next? Obviously you got plans, you got all the connections, you just sold your house. What's next?
Yeah, well, the plan is to like keep building. Like I love selling houses. I'm passionate about real estate. And I just say like I'm passionate about property because it encompasses everything. It encompasses selling, helping people buy, helping people renovate, like knowing how to renovate, selling apartments off the plan or new developments, and then building as well is in there. Like a lot of my clients are builders and developers, and I think I have the best relationships with them because of my background, and I'm so passionate about building. So I'm equally as passionate about real estate and then building. And so the goal is now to, since we've sold, is to look for another piece of land and build something again. That's my dream. I just want to be... I'll always do real estate. I'll always sell property because I absolutely love it. But I also love building and renovating homes. So I'll continue to do that forever. I don't think I'll ever stop.
Wow. Good one. Development, or just build a house, live in it, build a house, live in it? Or are you going to expand?
I don't know. We'll see. Because there's obviously, there's a lot of benefits to building your own homes and living in them. But it also means that you don't turn them over, you get stuck in them. So if you want to start developing, it's much easier if you purchase a property in a commercial name, like in a business name. It makes it easier to get bank lending. It also makes it easier for investors to invest in the project because they own a piece of the company, they get a guaranteed return, and the project just sells once it's complete. So it just depends on what we want to do next. And that's still
hard to get investors to get involved in a house you're going to live in.
Very hard to get
invest
people
in my family home.
Very hard to get people to invest in a home you're going to live in. But there's a lot of people out there who, do have some money behind them and they want to be in property, but they just don't know where to start. They're not an expert. They don't know the market. They don't have relationships with builders or contractors to obviously get it done for the right price. So this home here, like we built this house in 6 months and everyone said it would take 12. But, I think that we ran a very tight ship. We also had a baby that was due.
Yeah.
And so we did have a timeline, but we just mapped out like the process from start to finish, every single trade and when they need to come in and when they don't. And it was probably because it was a bit smaller, it was pretty easy, but we knew the demo guy was going to take 2 days. He goes, I'll demo clear the site 2 days. I'm like, perfect. So Monday, Tuesday, demoed the site. Wednesday, we drilled the board piers. We cleared the site, drilled the board piers on the Wednesday. Thursday, had the engineer come inspect in the morning. Thursday afternoon, we were pouring the concrete for the board piers.
Wow.
And it was like, on a normal site, that'll probably take like a few weeks, but we just knew like it was going to happen. And so within 2 weeks, we went from a full house to slab in 2 weeks.
Yeah, you got to be a ball breaker to get that happening, don't you?
Yeah. Thursday, board piers. Friday, we had the plumber here, digging all the trenches, putting all the sewers in and the water. Had the electrician here as well, running some power out the back. Saturday, started excavating. So literally we went from full house to slab in 2 weeks. And on most sites, that takes 2 months. But it was just knowing like the order.
Hustling.
Yeah, hustling. And it also helps because I'm only managing one project.
Yeah.
Like most builders, I think if you ask them if they were only building one house a year,
It'd be perfect.
They could probably build it in like 7 or 8 months.
Yeah.
But most builders are building like 10 plus. And so you just can't focus all your resources on one project.
I have to say, with your development process, it's kind of how your professional life's gone. Like you planned from when you left the Gold Coast, came here to get into real estate, be on TV. That was all planned, wasn't it?
Yeah, everything was planned.
Very detailed, planned, and you've executed the whole thing, from start to finish.
Yeah, like some people say to me, who don't know me, who just see me on TV or whatever, they're like, oh, you're so lucky. And I'm like, man, luck has nothing to do with it. Like you definitely create your own luck. As you know, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And so I've like worked really hard my whole life, and yeah, I had a plan of what I wanted to do. And the plan was ultimately to become a contestant on the show. And then of course, go on to like building and developing. That was like the end goal. And so it's happened, it doesn't happen overnight. Like I'm 33 years old now, so it's taken a little bit longer than I would have liked it to. Everyone says like set goals and things like that. And some people set goals down to, every weekly goal, monthly goals. I don't really set like weekly goals, but I do have like goals in life, and they're typically like bigger milestones that I can break down. Like obviously getting into real estate was one, getting on the block was another one, building my own house and then continuing to build. So it does take time, but it does happen. You just have to, I know that that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So if ever I'm feeling down or like, I'm a little bit off track, I'm like, well, it is going to happen. It might just take a little bit longer. I always think like Warren Buffett, right?
80 years old.
80 years old, but 99% of the wealth he created was after the age of 50.
Yeah.
So whenever I'm hard on myself, because I do get hard on myself, I think we all
100%.
judge ourselves. And because, it's like that saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, then get the hell out of the room. Yeah, I'm not the smartest person in the rooms that I'm in. Like everyone that I associate with is way more successful than me. And I don't care if they're older, I just look at them as being more successful. And so it's just human nature to compare yourselves to those people, but everyone's on their own journey. But yeah, Warren Buffett, 99% of his wealth after the age of 50 years old. So we've still got plenty of time.
Plenty of time. You was the plan to go on the block or just get on TV? Because now you've got a few shows. Like, was that always a plan to stay on TV, or was it just get on the block and then get a name?
No, the plan was to just go on the block to be a contestant. Okay. And it's quite funny. When we first went on there, everyone thinks some people do it for the money, some people do it for the experience. Like my partner and I just did it for the experience because I'd been obsessed with the show and the money was a bonus. And then when you're like halfway through the block, you're like, I definitely want to win some money. Like this has been so hard.
Yeah.
And I think all of the contestants on our series were the same. At the start, they're like, we'd be happy with like, 50 grand or 100 grand. That'd be cool. And then it's literally like 16 weeks of your life, a week before, 14 weeks of hell, and then a week after. And then you got to watch it. And so everyone was like, by the time the auction rolled around, we definitely wanted to earn some money.
Heaps of money.
Yeah, heaps of money. But it's funny to your question about, did I want to be in TV? I didn't want to be in TV. I don't particularly like television. I don't watch a lot of TV. The shows I've ended up being on are all property related, which is really cool. But most of the content I consume is on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube is like 90% because I get to watch the content that I'm interested in whenever I want. I don't have to wait for it to start. I don't have to watch ads. But the whole TV thing, that literally came about through chance. And it's like they're saying, they say, treat people how you want to be treated and never judge a book by its cover. When I was on the block, any person who walked through my home, regardless of how old they were or what they looked like, I treated them like they were a buyer and could afford my home. Because heaps of sponsors roll in, heaps of people that you don't know who they are, people from Channel 9, people from, like the sponsors, a lot of Melbourne's upper elites come through, they get private tours because why not? They're interested in the show, they got connections, so that's cool. So I just treated everyone like they could buy my home. And there was one day I was there was a bloke called Sam, he had dreadlocks like down to his ass. He definitely didn't look like he could afford to buy the home. I don't think anyone would have thought this guy could afford to buy the home, right? But I said g'day to him, I was like, hey Sam, how you going? Jesse, he's like, yeah man, cool, nice to meet you. I was like, hey, would you like me to give you a tour of my house? He's like, oh, you don't have to. I was like, well, I've got nothing else to do. I'm just kicking back. I'd love to show you around. He's like, oh man, I appreciate that. So I walked around with this guy for like an hour and his missus, gave him a full room by room property tour, got it on like a house on fire. And I was at the time just like consumed with the block. So all I was doing was like talking about myself. Unfortunately, I didn't ask him too many questions, but I did ask him one question was that, do you like golf? He's like, man, I love golf. I'm like, all right, let's go play a round of golf. So we go play golf. Get along really well. I start talking, I'm like, oh, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm in TV. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, are you a sound guy? Are you a cameraman? Like, what's your job? Are you a lackey? Are you a runner? You just get food for people? He's like, no, I produce a couple TV shows. I'm like, oh, awesome. Like, what kind of shows do you produce? He goes, oh, I produce, like Reno Rumble, Open Homes Australia, a few other ones. I was like, oh, really? So like, you work for a company? He's like, no, that's my company. I was like, what is going on? This guy's like 27 years old. Dreadlocks to his ass, and this guy's like a TV producer. And so that is how I ended up getting onto Open Homes Australia, Renovate or Rebuild. There's another show that we're going to be on, which is coming out next year. And that's just because I treated this guy like you should treat anyone.
Yeah.
Just like how you want to be treated. Didn't judge a book by its cover. Ended up playing around in golf with him. And now he puts me on all these TV shows.
Well, you got to remember, there's a lot of wankers in real estate and television. So if there's just a good, person that talks to anyone and has a personality, that's actually what they fucking want on TV.
That's what they want on TV.
Yeah.
That's what he said to me as well. He goes, man, like, because he, has been doing TV for like 7 years. And he goes, it's disappointing how many people go on reality TV shows and then all of a sudden think they're a celebrity. Like I've known you since before I was on the block. I like to think that I haven't changed at all. Mel might say different, but that's just because Mel loves to give me a hard time. But most of the people, I just think that I feel really fortunate to have that opportunity. I don't for a second think that I'm better than anyone or I deserve anything more than anyone else. I think everyone has to earn it. And so people like that. They just want to be around it. And they want to be around people who are also easy to work with. You don't want someone who's been on TV for 2 seconds and they're like a prima donna. And it's like, only drink sparkling water, has to be a crystal glass. Or who was it that has to, someone, what was her name? Who's the person who had to swap out all the tapware for gold?
Oh, fuck, I don't know. It sounds like a pain in the ass, though.
The true story, I can't remember the celebrity's name, but every hotel they would go to, they would make them swap out the tapware in her hotel room, had to be gold. I'm like, come on, love. Like,
take it easy.
Mate, I wouldn't bother. If I was Elon Musk with $200 billion, I'm not swapping tapware out.
He'd sleep in a tent.
He sleeps on the floor in the office. It's like that is what you're supposed to do when you become successful. You keep hustling,
Is that mentality how you sell real estate? Same?
Yeah, that's definitely how I sell real estate.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, real estate as a whole, even though I don't think it's warranted, I think for some people, like, it does have a really bad rep. I think you and I have worked in it for a while now
That's why I
together.
have a job, because a lot of people don't like real estate agents.
A lot of people don't like real estate agents. I become really close with like all of my clients. I genuinely care and want to get them the best result. And I treat them like a person as opposed to a number.
Yeah.
What's the saying? Like, stop selling and start caring. That's like kind of how I go about doing my business. And it works well. Like most of my clients now have been in real estate for 8 years. Most of them are repeat clients or referrals.
Yeah.
Like 90% of my business. And so obviously I must be doing something right. I'm not the number one agent. I don't sell 200 properties a year, but I could probably call almost any one of my clients and go for lunch or go for dinner.
Yeah.
Like some of my clients, when I go away, they come and babysit my cats, they come and they babysit our daughter if we want to go out. I don't know many agents that have that relationships with their clients.
Yeah, is that the goal? Like, not to be the number one agent in Australia, which a lot of people have that goal. You're doing 50,000 other things. So how do you, now you've got a baby, how do you manage to get it all done?
Well, there is a lot of time in the day. I think that's what a lot of people forget. And that's also relative to the block, right? Everyone's like, oh, how can you build a room in 7 days? I'm like, well, you go to work for 8 hours a day. There's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
So there's 16 hours a day that you're not being productive. And so like with real estate, yes, I film TV, I build houses, I do a few other things. Like I can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, do a little bit of exercise. 6 o'clock in the morning, I can start responding to emails. Then my daughter wakes up at 7 o'clock. I spend an hour with her, drop her off at daycare. Then you're in the office at 8 o'clock. You typically work until about 5 o'clock because I like to pick her up from daycare, come home, have a shower and bedtime. And then it's like you got 7 o'clock at night and there's nowhere you have to be. So you can do all your compatibilities, send through your proposals, do all your vendor reports online. There's so many things that you can do in real estate that are not dollar productive that can be done outside of hours when you want to call people and do appointments. And so that's how I manage it all.
You're going to get an associate?
Yeah, I'd love to have a assistant. Mel. Yeah, I'd love Mel to come work for me. That'd be the best because she's ruthless. When we did the block together at the start, she was trying to do things that weren't necessarily like helpful. And she said to me at the time, and it's not like to be mean, but she goes, I just feel useless. I feel like I'm not doing anything. I feel like she's like, you're designing everything. You're doing all the work. You're managing all the trades. She's like, I just feel like I'm not doing anything. I was like, well, we're a team. Like, so I don't expect you to design anything. You never watched the block before. She never watched it. So she didn't know anything about interior designs or building or renovating. I was like, but you're very good at management. Like your nickname in the office is like, get shit done. So you're super organized, you're methodical, you're very good with numbers, you're very good at keeping other people accountable as well and bookwork. I'm like, so just run our project like you would run a project in the office and manage me like I work for you. And so she's like, all right. So the first 4 weeks were pretty rocky, but then Mel started managing me. So every night before we go to bed, Mel's like, right, what do we have to do tomorrow? And I'm like, I just want to go to bed. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I had no sleep. I'm wrecked. She's like, nah, let's do it. And so Mel would like get the pad out and just start writing, because I hate putting stuff on paper, being organized like that. So I'm like, we need to order plaster, we need to order the floorboards, we need all the tile adhesive, we need to get the vanities from Reese, we need to go to Minor 10, we need to get paintbrushes, tape. So she's like, all right, what do we need for paint? So she would write all the list. So then every morning, Mel would have this list of everything we need to do. And then I'd wake up, she's like, right, what are you doing this morning? And I'm like, I'll try and have a coffee. And she's like, no, you need to do this first. And so she would. So she like managed me through the build, and we dominated. When that started happening, we worked together, we dominated. Wow. And then instead of her feeling useless, like she wasn't doing anything, she started thriving, because she's like, nah, I know what's going on here. Bang, you got to do that. Someone would come up to her and she'd go, Ollie, why haven't you got the plaster hung yet? Oh, because of this. She's like, nah, that's bullshit. Like, why haven't you got it hung yet? And like, she would know if the reason they were giving was acceptable or not, like, because she was learning quick. So yeah, if Mel would work for me, that'd be amazing. Because I've got a few things going on, like, TV, media, real estate. We're going to start building. So it'd be good to have her involved, because she's very organized, and that is definitely her strength.
Is that why your house is so clean? Because she busts your balls to clean the house all the time?
But every day I laugh. Our house is ready for photographs every day. Mel's super clean. Mel's quite unique in that Mel's a very special kind of woman, where she actually enjoys cooking and cleaning. She finds it quite therapeutic. Like a lot of women do. It's like me, I find building and trade work quite therapeutic.
100%.
You know what I mean? Like, it just feels good, right? You build a deck.
Feel good.
I love it. Building shit with your hands, right? We're building stuff with our hands.
Yeah.
Mel always keeps the house clean. She always cooks, but she says to me regularly, she's like, I'm not cleaning up after you.
Fair enough.
I'm like, yeah, that's fair enough. So I always have to keep my stuff clean as well, and Mel likes to do the rest of the house. But it's always clean and tidy.
Like, what's the best value that we can bring to some people now out there who are wanting to maybe not go on the block or get into real estate, but start their, I don't know, early 20s. They want to, be somewhere in 10 years' time, kind of what you've done. You've built this thing. What do you reckon their best foundations to build to get there is?
Well, I just did a YouTube video about this. That would come before this one is, right? It's about how to buy your first property.
Okay.
The only way that I know how to create wealth in my life is through property. And it's not just me. I'm pretty sure it's like 99% of millionaires in the world is generated by real estate.
100%, yeah.
So it's not like it's a secret. And there's no secret as to how to become wealthy. It's 99% of people, it's through real estate. And so I think that if you're young, doesn't matter if you're not earning a lot of money. So true story, I bought my first property when I was 19 years old, which sounds crazy. I was just a good little saver. So like, this is what my mum instilled in me when I was like probably 8 years old. I reckon like 8 or 9 years old, I was mowing lawns for pocket money, right? I would mow someone's lawn for $20, right? It was awesome. And I would save $20. And mum's like, what are you going to do with the money? I'm like, I'm going to go to the bloody fish and chip shop, buy some fish and chips, buy some lollies, do this. And mum's like, nah, you don't need to do that. She's like, because at the time, like a fish and chip's like $3 and lollies are like 10 cents each, right? She's like, no, you need $5 for that, and then you need to save. So I would start saving at a very early age. And when I turned, I was 12 years old, I wanted a motorbike, and it was $1,000. I had $1,000 in savings. So I bought a motorbike. And I was like, this is really cool, So I learned to love saving. I made it a game. So in my account, if I had, $869 and I get paid $50 for doing something, for mowing a couple lawns, I'm like, wow, if I spent 10, I'm only going to have like 898. Or if I spend 8, I'm going to have 900. And so I started doing that as my savings started increasing. So then I got my first job, which was working at Baker's Delight. And mum's like, right, how much do you earn? I was earning like $230 a week or something. So I was working like after school. She's like, well, how much do you need to live? I'm like, well, I want to go to the movies. I want to buy some food. I want to do this. And mum's like, all right, so that's $50 a week. So you've got $230. You can save $180 a week. So I would save $180. And then I might get an extra shift or get to work some overtime. And I'm like, awesome. Now I've earned $300 for the week. And I'll be like, because mum saw my account, and I'd take $100 out. And mum's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, what? She's like, you only need $50 a week. I've been through this with you. You only need $50 a week. Save more. And so I did. So I kept saving and giving myself other goals. And then when I turned, 18 years old, I bought my second car, which was like a $20,000 ute at the time, which was crazy because most people were going out and buying like $2,000 Hiluxes. Like I had the nicest car at school. It was XR6 BA Falcon with the V8 body kit, $21,000. I was 18 years old. Everyone's like, his parents must have bought it for me. I was like, no, I'm a good little saver. So everyone's like, that's a dumb idea. You shouldn't have bought that because you're not going to be able to buy a house. I'm like, well, I'm going to pay off this loan super quick and going to have really great credit. And so I did. I paid it off. I think I paid it off in 9 months.
Yeah, wow.
So I got pretty good credit. Obviously, first homeowners grant. I didn't need stamp duty. So I bought my first property when I was 19 years old.
So the moral of the story is listen to your mum.
Mate, listen to your mum and just save. Like, it doesn't... I think people get hard on themselves like, oh, I don't earn $500,000 a year. I don't earn $200,000 a year. I only earn $50,000 a year. Well, it's like, yeah, but it's all relative. Like, how much you earn is irrelevant. How much do you save?
Yeah.
And so when I was younger, I was a very good saver. And that literally allowed me to do all these things I've done in my life was saving money. When I was a tiler on the Gold Coast, right? I wanted to move to Mackay. I had no job up there. I had no idea if I would get work. I just wanted to work for myself. I borrowed a friend's caravan, drove to Mackay with no job. Now, the only reason I could do that is because I had savings and I was prepared to give up earning money to do it. Ended up getting a job. That was really cool. Stayed there for 2.5 years, earning really good money, and I saved a heap of money. And then after that, I was like, well, I want to do real estate. I want to move to Melbourne, but I don't want to go straight into it. I want to have a bit of fun. I want to have a year off. And so I ended up moving from Mackay back to the Gold Coast just because I wanted to drop off my car. I then traveled through Central America for like 7 months, which was awesome. I didn't have to worry about money because I'd saved it. You know, I was just doing whatever I wanted. I was doing helicopter flights in the Grand Canyon. I drove a bus from like New York across to LA. Just did whatever I wanted to do because I had savings. And then when I finished doing that, I moved to Melbourne to start real estate. So I went from the time I left Mackay to the time I got my first paycheck again was like 15 months with no income. I still had a mortgage. I still had at the time, a brand new Ford Ranger XLT. I was like, what, 25 years old, had like a $85,000 car because I was just a good little saver.
Yeah.
And so that is, you know, I moved to Melbourne to do real estate and I had given myself, I had 12 months of savings to pay for rent, to not earn any money. And I knew I'd be okay. I'd still be able to live, buy food, groceries, pay for rent. And then having that, you know, safety net of a little bit of savings. When I walk into a listing when I started, I was fearless. I did not care if I missed the listing. I didn't need it.
Yeah.
They talk about this commission breath.
Yeah, 100%.
And I had pretty good success off the bat because I was just going in there with a genuine belief, like, I reckon I'm going to get the best price.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people when they start are like, I need this money.
Yeah.
Anyone out there, you wanting to start, honestly, it doesn't matter how much you earn, save money.
People can smell the desperation.
People can smell the desperation. And that's in like every business, right? People know that if you are there just to like earn $1 or if you're there to help. So yeah, save your money, buy real estate, look for a good deal. That was in the video I was talking about. I'll put it up after this, but it's like, you know what to look for. You're a buyer's advocate.
Yeah.
So to me, the advice, I was like, the first thing you need to do is get finance. Because I reckon so many people, they go on the banking websites, they put in their income. Oh, I can borrow 300 grand, and you go to get a loan, and you get like 200,000. It's like ridiculous.
It happens all the time. I don't let someone sign up unless they're pre-approved.
There you go.
Oh, I can get this because my mate got it, and I'm like, oh yeah, no worries. And then they get pre-approved for half.
Yeah, so that's one of your rules in business. If they don't have finance approved, you're not going to bring them on as a client.
100%.
I reckon that should be the first one everyone does. The second bit of advice I reckon is you need to get a conveyancer. Because how many contracts, like how many properties do you look at for a client, you think, before you buy one?
Lots.
A lot. And you don't want to be reading a 400-page contract every time.
Yeah.
Get a conveyancer. And then I find as well...
Get the right team, basically.
Get the right team.
Yeah.
And back to your point, like how do you make, starting out to make money? My only way I know is through real estate. There are so many good deals in the market to make money. You just have to look for them. I bought a place in St Kilda. And it's literally like the advice I gave in this video is what it was. It was photographs on the real estate agent's phone. It hadn't been renovated for about 50 years. The carpet stunk, had mirror on the walls. Someone smoked in there, so there was like yellow paint. It was unfurnished. It was on the market for 120 days. I was like, perfect. I sort of thought at the end of it, it could be worth about 700. I went in, I bought it for $500,000. I negotiated for them to let us do a renovation prior to settlement. It's got a 120-day settlement. By the time settlement rolled around, we pretty much finished the whole renovation. I renovated it because obviously I did it myself and we spent a bit more than we were wanting to, but we just did some nice things and saved money on trade. So bought it for 500, stamps maybe 20. I spent $30,000 on the renovation. I literally did it for fun.
Yep.
Because I was just like sick of selling houses every day. I wanted to do something with my hands again. So all up, it owed me like 560, and I sold it for 705,000.
It's a good deal.
It was a good little deal, and it was just fun.
That's what
it was fun.
I find if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're never going to be rich. And I don't mean cash wise. I mean health wise, like life wise. So find something you're passionate about. Obviously, you it's real estate, and me it's real estate. So find out what you're passionate about. Save your money. You need a buffer always. It's all about the buffer, isn't it?
Yeah, man, you have to have a buffer.
Brain doesn't learn if you're stressed.
If you're living week to week or month to month, you don't have the free time or the mental capacity to take on other things. You just get bogged down. All you're thinking about is paying debt and living week to week. Like, that's no way to live. So, if you're struggling at the moment, it's like, well, get a cheaper rental. Like, sell the house, start again, maybe try to find some extra work. I've got like 4 things on the go. I've got like 4 different streams of revenue.
What about education? Have you spent much money on coaches or education?
I haven't spent like really any money on other education or coaches.
Okay.
Again, like I think the smartest people in the world put out all of their information and advice now for free, whether it be on podcast or YouTube, or you can subscribe to their emails.
Yep.
There's so many people who are way more intelligent than us. Mm-hmm. Like Gary Vee's a great example. Yeah. Tony Robbins, like, you can go and spend $5,000 and do a course with Tony Robbins, or you can just go on YouTube and watch most of his stuff.
All of it.
For free. I think that don't ever let money
get in the way
or be an excuse as to why you can't learn. Because everything you want to learn is free and it's all online. You just have to dedicate the time to it.
Excellent. It's a good way to finish.
Good way to finish. Mate, thanks for the chat.
Thank you very much.
Good to catch up.
Lots of gold in that. So hustle life. Hustle, save your money, go hard.
Hustle, save money. You got to set goals too.
Get a good partner too, actually. That's a big one.
Definitely. You got to get a good partner. That's, I think, what I think a lot of people are struggling with at the moment, just because everyone's got fast friends now, social media. Everyone thinks that everyone else is living a perfect life. That's not real. All the dating apps. People are going out clubbing and just living for the weekend. I think, you have to find a good partner.
Yeah.
One of the best things about my life is I've got a rock star missus.
Yeah.
She's awesome. So that's just one thing, one of the most important things in life I just don't have to worry about.
Yeah.
As long as I don't stuff up, like, that's just going to take care of itself. And it just makes it so much easier to go and accomplish and do things that you want to do when you've got that rock supporting you.
The most expensive thing that's ever happened to me was picking the wrong partner.
Picking the wrong partner, yeah. Because that's the thing, it puts you back, doesn't it?
Puts you back decades.
Decades. Like, your whole life you're working to achieve these goals and you accumulate wealth, and then the drop of a hat, taken away. Yeah, choose wisely.
Choose wisely. The second one's much better. All right, thank you.
All right, mate, good to catch up.
Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it.